Okay, settle down, settle down. Welcome to another edition of Birds of a Feather. Here's your girl, AJ, Suburban Princess, here to represent for a very confused audience member as I watch these crazy wild card playoff games. Okay, first of all, I don't know what I thought was going to happen as far as whether it be mostly away teams that would win or home teams. I didn't have any of that in my mind watching them. But that last game I just watched today between the Saints and the Carolina Panthers was very disappointing, just simply because I'm not shocked that the Saints won. I'm just upset at how the Panthers lost, especially because they had like a couple minutes that they probably could have snuck back in there. And then you raise the question of whether or not Cam should have been put back in there, being that he was looked at as a concussion protocol after that huge slam/sack that was put on him just towards the middle of the fourth quarter. It's really scary how the playoffs can go up a level in terms of drama. It can seem like the most boring game in the world, like earlier today's Bills Jaguars game started off, but towards the end it got better. But it seems like by fourth quarter and the last couple minutes, everybody remembers why they're there in the first place, I guess, and all of a sudden desperation takes over. Well, the Bills-Jaguars game was just pathetic. I've never seen the Bills play so lifeless. As much as I loved Tyrod Taylor as a quarterback at one point, I'm really starting to question his legitimacy as a quarterback, and I'm starting to wonder if maybe it's time for the Bills to start looking elsewhere. Maybe in April's draft, they should definitely be looking at one of those quarterbacks that have just declared for the NFL. And then the Jaguars are just a bunch of big, husky guys who just basically took advantage of situations that presented themselves. Now, Blake Bortles is not a great quarterback either. And, he had to run for his life. It got to the point where nothing he was doing was really working. He threw very short and, or he threw interceptions, or he just couldn't find anybody in time and got sacked. He's not the greatest quarterback. I see him as being a second or third string in the future. I don't see him ever starting again after this year, if the Jaguars know what's good for them, being that Tom Coughlin is now part of the Jaguars front office. I'm sure he's possibly thinking about seeing if Eli feels like finishing out the rest of his career as a Giant, or does he want to go and just start a new career with Jacksonville Jaguars and try to get them to a playoff again next season. You never know. Tom Coughlin may have a soft spot for Eli. Eli may decide, I want to finish my career as a Giant. If I were Eli, if he doesn't have a hand in who the next coach is going to be there, I would say Eli should leave and just go to where he's most familiar to finish out his career. It looks like next year is already looking out to be a carnival of quarterbacks for next season. 2018, 2019 is going to be a lot of new faces and new places, and some old faces and new places. Hopefully, if the rumors are true, I sort of expect to see Alex Smith no longer being a Chief, but either being a Giant or being a Jaguar. I can't see any other place that he would belong, because once Deshaun Watson comes back for the Texans, he's going to pretty much pick up where he left off. Our Carson Wentz will definitely be back in the fold, probably in late September, early October, because I don't see them rushing him back from his ACL once he starts rehabbing full-time and taking practices on the field again. I really feel like what makes every offseason more exciting is knowing that there's a slew of quarterbacks that are probably not going to finish out the rest of their careers. Yesterday's loss with the Kansas City Chiefs was ridiculous. They should not have lost the game to the Titans. They pretty much had that game had they just continued to run the ball. And I think what I've learned from both sets of games this weekend is that you have to run the ball. The Titans really shouldn't have had a playoff berth at all because they really have nothing to them. I mean, Mariota is a good quarterback, but he's either underutilized or he's not as good as all that hype was back when we had Chip Kelly as a coach and everybody wanted Mariota. And now that that's kind of died down, I don't know if that's because of the manager that they were, or the coach they were looking to fire at some point. And now he probably won't get fired because he can live for another week. Or just because the whole front office in the Titans is a mess. Who knows? But they are definitely looking to have another upheaval in their front office as well as their coaching staff soon as well. And who's the other team? It was Titans as well as Atlanta. Duh. Atlanta won their game. And it made sense that they won their game because they just seemed like they played a lot hungrier. And the team they played against just didn't want it as much. Atlanta played like the Atlanta that pretty much got to the Super Bowl last year. Now, is that good for them because they have to face the Eagles next weekend? Or is that bad? Now, mind you, every week is different, especially when it comes to the playoffs, because everybody has to turn it up a notch. Now, our Eagles have had 2 weeks off. They could definitely use a turn up in every single way. Not even just on Foles, because at this point I've decided that Foles is going to be Foles. What the Birds are going to have to do is turn up their run game seriously. If there's anything that Doug should learn from watching Andy, is that Andy regressed into what he always does. He takes the foot off the brake in the fourth quarter when he thinks he has the game, when he really shouldn't. He shouldn't let the defense take over. He should continue to put feet on the throat, which is what Jeremiah Trotter used to always talk about. You always continue to put your foot on their neck. And sometimes Andy had a tendency to lighten up on the run game at the weirdest times. And that's even when we had Westbrook and the three-headed monster. But now our team has a three-headed monster with Blunt, Ajayi, and Clement. So I really think at this point, that's what we should be doing. You put less pressure on Foles, less interceptions, less chance for Nick to get sacked. So that should be a pretty easy game, and they should continue to do that game in the second half. It shouldn't fall off. It shouldn't get any lighter. It should take off if they want to start Blunt more in the second half, more than Ajayi, and then just have Ajayi come in towards the end, or Clement finish it, fine. But just keep it to the run. And if there's one thing I learned from all these games, even with the Falcons, is that when they continued to run Devontae, and when they continued to put in Coleman, their team got closer to the end zone than the other team did. So now that I know that, I'm excited for the next week's slew of games, but I'm a little nervous. I mean, I never would have thought I would picture the Steelers going against the Jaguars or the Titans going against the Patriots. The Saints and the Vikings make sense because those pretty much are both the most undersold yet huge juggernauts in terms of either offense or defense. So that game will be exciting. I'm kind of confused at how to take Pittsburgh against Jaguars because Jaguars could easily go in there and upset the Steelers. But the Steelers can become Steelers of old again for one last round because I personally think Roethlisberger will be done soon. I don't think he's mentally there anymore. But I think they'll give it one last heave-ho and get themselves into the AFC Conference Championship. But, who knows? I mean, I'm kind of hoping the Patriots check out just because now with all that kind of underground rumored rift going on between the front office and the coach and Tom, I'm hoping that channels into loss for them because it just would be more exciting to have the Patriots kind of bow out for the rest of the season. Because at this point now, it's pretty much redundant seeing Brady in every freaking championship round. I mean, yes, they've had years where they haven't been in there, yes. But I just think for this particular year, it's more exciting to see somebody different like the Vikings or the Eagles get into the Super Bowl. So, I don't know. Anyway, we'll see what happens. But I just figured I'd make a quick little analysis on what I've just taken in with my eyeballs this weekend, which is not exactly exciting. I mean, it was definitely wild card in the sense that these were definitely the lower dregs of championship games, but it just showed you that at the end of the day, every team should have had the same strategy. Run the ball, or the quarterback should have ran. Somebody should have ran. It just sometimes shouldn't always come to throwing, because sometimes the throwing doesn't do anything. And especially if you get sacked because you can't find anybody to throw to, it defeats the purpose. So anyway, with that being said, I am excited that the two birds are fighting against each other. I do love when Atlanta comes to Philly, especially when it's going to be cold. But it's not going to be as cold as I anticipated, like the game back in 2005 for the championship. But it'll be cold enough and might be rainy, so it may not be as exciting. So at the end of the day, I know my birds can win, but I'm not going to be sleeping on the Falcons either. I mean, Matt Ryan could finally get those cobwebs out of his head and decide to play a very complete game again. Or the Eagles could turn right around and make everybody wish they hadn't slept on Foles and be so quick to put the Eagles as the underdog, as apparently the line that's out there that everybody follows the line is saying that the Eagles are going to lose by a field goal or so. I personally like that because if anything, that gives the Eagles something to work for as opposed to just coasting on, the kind of run they had this year. I think it'd be the best way to start off the playoffs because you're basically starting 0-0, knowing that you're being slept on. So I'm hoping that motivates everybody to play thoroughly, consistently, and I don't know, just smartly. And hopefully we'll see a very exciting playoff atmosphere on Saturday. So it'll be a 1:00 game. It's a 4:35, excuse me, but we have to be there, I think, at like 1:45. So I, for one, am very excited just for that. I think it's going to be a cool game. I think it's going to be, I don't know. I think the fourth quarter will basically be either boring because the Eagles are winning, or it'll be boring because the Falcons are winning, or it could come down to one stupid field goal. And I am not worried about Jake Elliott not winning a game. But if it comes down to just that, then I'm definitely happy for the Eagles. But if it doesn't come down to that and it's like 2 touchdowns behind, I'm going to be a little nervous. But I don't see the Eagles not winning. I do see it being a good contest, but I see it more of a contest when the Eagles reach the NFC Championship. That's going to be a big contest regardless of who's in there, because Doug could overthink strategies from the last game, and, you know, I just want them to all be consistent on just be on one accord on all levels. Regardless of the supposed rumors of some of the coach guys getting interviews, I hope that they can all bring it together and, you know, channel out all the distractions and put together a good game plan. I just hope to see a lot of more running back action than we've seen all year consistently in a game. So with that being said, everybody just keep your hopes alive. I think this postseason will be one for the books. And if anything, it'll keep Carson Wentz himself even more motivated to want to come back bigger and stronger, like he said, for the upcoming 2018 season. So I'm very, very excited for this. I hope to God that Foles can prove everybody wrong. And I hope the team supports Foles and doesn't quit on him when things get shaky. So if anything, I hope they stay true to their, you know, we all we got, we all we need, because that's the kind of mindset that will make you win championships regardless. So I just put that out there now while I'm thinking about it at 9:30 at night on Sunday, about to start a full week of work. So while it was on my mind, I figured I'd put it out there to keep people knowing that I still bleed green. I'm still a Bird Gang. I had my doubts about Foles after those last couple games, but when you really think about it, after the smoke clears, it is 16 and 17 weeks we're talking about of the regular season. They pretty much had the season nailed down, but you just hope that this new team, or this new, should I say remastered team, will go into the playoffs just like they went into the regular season. So anyway, once again, I say, if you feel like you want to chime in or hit me up on Twitter, GirlyVirgo78, and AJ Sports Radio Caller FB page, as well as AJ Sports Radio Caller at AOL.com. Thanks for listening, and I will definitely be returning the weekend, should I say, of the Eagles' first playoff game. Here's to a win, and here's to the best bird winning. That will be us. Fly, Eagles, fly. One love. Take care, y'all.